Nursery rhymes.
About the Black Death.
Rats.
Who carried the Black Death.
Dying.
Which people did from the Black Death.
Miasma.
Which emanated during the Black Death.
Dancing macabre,
which people did when the Black Death was about.
Witches.
Who caused the Black Death.
Helvetenfonster.
Fuck knows.
It's Ghost with Prequelle. Prequelle. This is the band's fourth album and their first since 2015's Memoria. Meliora? Meliora. Though there was the Pope Star EP which came out in 2016. And as is standing with tradition, ghost tradition, that being, we have a new frontman. Yes, we have Cardinal Copia replacing Papa. Was it Papa Emeritus? According to a recent interview as well, this incarnation of the frontman is expected to be hanging around for the next 5 years. So I don't know if that means that Tobias Forge has more solid plans of exactly what he wants to do over this time with this particular guys. I'm not sure, but that's what I've read. As far as Prequelle goes, I'll just read out a little bit of information. Wikipedia. The loose theme of Prequelle is the concept of death and doom. Forge also said that it is themed around medieval times, but it's definitely clinging to a lot of very current things. I think the best way to describe the album is to go straight into the songs. So, kicking the album off, we have Ashes. This intro section is essentially a take on Ring Around a Roses, which of course was a nursery rhyme about the Black Death. But towards the end of this piece we get some power chords and a real proggy keyboard joining in, kind of the melody on this we're going to see towards the tail end of the next song as well, so I'll go straight into that. Next song is Rats. Now chances are you might have already heard this one. I think this was the first single to be released, which I for one love. I think there's a few people who've been already slagging the band off before they've had a chance to put the album out. This is quite often the case about, oh, then you know, they're this, they're not doing that anymore, and all the rest of it. I've got no problem with a poppy, hooky chorus. I couldn't care less. I think a good song is a good song. The video to this was really cool as well, I thought. The drums kick straight in to start this one off. Very 80s sound. Well, everything's kind of 80s sounding on this. Late 70s, early 80s. Definitely a straight out metal riff, this one, which I really enjoyed. Tobias also explained in an interview on this one, the concept of Rats was spreading as wildfire and completely destroying things quicker than you know, like the Black Death. I don't know where the interview was from. I wrote it down, but I forgot to. Awesome poppy chorus on this one. I really enjoyed the lead guitar work on it as well. And I mentioned at the tail end of Ashes there was this sort of melody that came into it, which is reflected at the tail end of this song in a much, much heavier version. I really like the outro to this song. It really beefs up, really, really quite nice heavy riff. Into your sanctum you let them in. Now all your loved ones and all your kin will suffer punishments beneath the wrath of God, never to forgive. The heavens open. I'm scared. Should I be in a car? Up a hill in a lightning storm? Next song, Faith. Without a shadow of a doubt, the heaviest song on the album. This starts out with a real nice melodic guitar harmony line and goes into a real heavy riff, which kind of got a tinge of industrial to it, I suppose. It could almost, I could almost imagine it on a Rammstein album. One thing Ghost do incredibly well, and that's write an incredibly catchy chorus. They do it so well, or Tobias does, I don't know. Is it all of them or is it just him? I am all eyes, I am all ears, I am the wall, and I'm watching you fall. Another tasty guitar lead and a great choir section takes us out of this song. Another one, really solid song. Great riffs on this one. Heavy, really just, it hits all the right spots, this one. Really great. Moving on. Next up, See the Light. This is a real piano-driven power ballad, essentially. Many a sin I have witnessed, and many indeed I have been. Many a rat I have befriended, and so many a thorn stood between. But of all of the demons I've known, none could compare to you.
What you know you are. Yeah, you fucking...
Like I said, a power ballad in essence, but there was elements of War of the Worlds, the War of the Worlds soundtrack. Of course, was it from the 70s, was it? Especially in the keyboards, that kind of proggy sort of 70s sort of prog keyboard. Drink me, eat me, then you'll see the light. Next up we have Miasma, which means oppressive or unpleasant atmosphere, or a bad aroma. This is an instrumental, over 5.5 minutes long instrumental, and works really well. Nothing boring about this at all. Huge reverb-laden 80s drums and a proggy keyboard that melds really well with the guitars. Great bass sound as well. I enjoyed the sound of this album as well. The production on it's pretty spot on. The guitar leads are once again done so tastefully. They're just the lead guitar all throughout this album. I want to say it's almost like David Gilmour, not in terms of style, but in terms of like choice. Everything's where it should be. Nothing's overplayed, nothing's underplayed. It's just the leads they just fit well. I like the way they sit within the. It doesn't feel like anything's been showing off or wankery for the sake of it. It's just really solid lead playing. The keyboards, the drums, the bass.
What, so all the musicians, we get it.
Awesome tune. Emphasised by a Dance Macabre is up next. This was initially released as an Instagram story before being released onto streaming sites later the same day, I think it was. In the Instagram story itself, you have appearances from Phil Anselmo, Charlie Benante from Anthrax, Kirk Hammett from Metallica, Chris Jericho, other people I didn't know. Some guy who went... He said in an interview, which I don't know which one, he aims to capture a joyous nocturnal sort of life in a disco song, such as people excessively partying because they know they are going to die. This is essentially a pop song, and I had no issue with this one at all. I enjoyed this one right from the beginning. Just wanna bewitch you in the moonlight. I assure you, you will do nothing of the sort. Next up, Memoria, meaning memory. Gorgeous symphonic intro and a great use of strings, which I'm always a sucker for anyway. This is another real piano-led ballad that just morphs into this huge sounding song. There's moments in that actually that some of the melody reminds me a little bit of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy TV show, BBC TV show that was like in the early 80s. Very, very similar. This is essentially a almost power ballad-esque song about death and Lucifer. Lucifer, whispering silently into your mind. Who walks behind? Who walks behind? Standing tall, invincible. But do not forget your knives to save your lives. To save your lives. Don't you forget about dying. Don't you forget about your friend death. Don't you forget that you will die. Next up is Witch Image. Witch, as in a witch, a dirty crone woman, a hag, a bitch. This had a kind of him meets Fleetwood Mac type sort of vibe to it, I felt. While you sleep in earthly delight, someone's flesh is rotting tonight. Like no other to you, what you've done, you cannot undo. Another really strong song. I've not found anything on this that I haven't liked yet. It's a pretty damn consistently awesome album. It's far more on the prog and ballad side than it is on the heavy. Oh no, actually, I don't know, man. I don't know. I found it really quite satisfying, I suppose. Helvetisfonster. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is another instrumental. This sounded a little bit at times like Pro Memoria. So I'm wondering if, I don't know, maybe had that similar sort of riff or whatever and went off in two different tangents with it. But yeah, this is another instrumental. There's plenty of prog on this one. You've got sort of elements of Queen and Pink Floyd, and I mentioned earlier Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. That keeps coming up throughout this album. It's the keyboard sound especially that reminds me very much of that album. This was a decent enough instrumental, but it didn't grab me quite as much as Miasma, which was the previous instrumental was. Not bad at all, but not as good as that one. And finally, Life Eternal, the final song on the album. And this is yet another power ballad. It kind of reminded me a little bit actually of Aerosmith's Dream On. Had that kind of similar vibe to it. Can you hear me say your name forever? Question mark. Can you see me longing for you forever?
Question mark.
Would you let me touch your soul forever?
Question mark, question mark, question mark, indeed, question mark.
Can you see me longing for you forever?
Stop smothering me!
This was a decent close to the album. I'm guessing Life Eternal. I think the question of this is like, if you could live forever, would you? Much like Queen's Who Wants to Live Forever, I guess. Do you? I'm in a car up a hill in a rainstorm. But yeah, that's the album. Prequelle by Ghost. 9 out of 10 as far as I'm concerned. Couldn't give it a 10 out of 10. Like I said, there's the one instrumental, Helvestrans von Sterthar, which wasn't a bad song, but it just wasn't, I don't know, I felt it kind of wasn't quite up to par with the rest of the material. But I largely enjoyed this a lot. It's a very easy album to listen to. So many great choruses. The lead guitar playing, as I said earlier, is just so tastefully done. I really enjoyed it. The musicianship right across the board is just absolutely stellar. The production is amazing, and Tobias Forge, his voice is great. I really, really enjoyed it. Is it different to previous Ghost albums? Yes, it is, but it's you know, that's what artists are supposed to do. They're supposed to move on. They're supposed to change things. I'm guessing that's obviously why he's doing his different incarnations as well. That way he's got that kind of, he's already saying, I'm going to be doing stuff differently. I could really see this album being huge. It's a fun one. It's got a lot going for it. I've already explained all this. 9 out of 10. So, that is my review of Ghost with Prequelle. What's up next? I think I'm going to be having a look at the Kanye West album, the new one, although I've seen very little information for it. I don't know if it's just dropping, as they say, first thing tomorrow. I'm not sure. I've also heard another site saying it's coming out on June the 8th, so I don't know. But anyway, one thing I do know, next week, Zeal and Nada, and holy shit, am I looking forward to that one. The previous album was one of my, I think it was my top 5. I think it was my number 5 pick of last year. Fantastic album, and from what I've heard of this upcoming album, it's going to be great, so I'm really, really looking forward to that one. Not only do we have Zeal and Nada next week, we also have the new Yob album. Very much looking forward to that one. That'll be a great one to listen to. Always do like a bit of psychedelic stoner doom. But yeah, that's just a couple of the things I've got coming up. There's plenty of videos coming out. I'm trying to do 2 or 3 every week. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, get notifications, like, share, comment, all the rest of it. Plenty more coming up, so don't go anywhere. Well, I mean, don't stay here, because that, you know, you'll just be looking at